You know something? The people of Boston had it great in 2004. When they looked up at the scoreboard after Game 3, they realized that they were down to the New York Yankees 3-0 heading into Game 4. They went to Game 4 and won it. They won Game 5, they won Game 6, and they won Game 7. And thus, the Boston Red Sox were enshrined in baseball immortality as they became the very first and only team in baseball history to erase a 3-0 deficit and win a post-season series. Oh boy, were they excited, those Red Sox. They were so excited that in the next series against the St. Louis Cardinals, they swept away to win their first world championship in 86 years. Kind of an ironic number when you think about it, because in 1986, it was the Boston Red Sox who lost the World Series to our New York Metropolitans. But I want you to think about this for a second. How many times do you hear Red Sox fans talking to Yankee fans? Oh, so often, Yankee fans say, "We've got 27 World Championships. We've got 27 World Championships. What do you guys have?" And most Red Sox fans, since 2004, have turned around and said, "Well, we've got that 4-game sweep. It wasn't really a sweep, but considering we were down 2-3 games to nothing, boy, oh boy, I'd say that's something special, considering it's only happened once in baseball history." Once in baseball history. But how about this now? You think that little statement's going to matter too much to Red Sox fans? Because anytime any Yankee fan says, "Well, what do the Red Sox have?" and Boston Red Sox fans turn around and say, "Well, we came back from a 3-0 deficit," they're going to be reminded about that other team that they root for, the Boston Bruins, that hockey team, that team that had a 3-0 lead on the Philadelphia Flyers going into Game 4, and that lost 4 games in a row to become only the 4th team in the history of sports to go up 3-0 in a series and not win it. It happened in 1942. In fact, it was in the Stanley Cup Finals. The Toronto Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup, having been down 3-0. It happened in 1975. Those New York Islanders were down 3-0, and then came back and won in 7 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It happened in 2004 again, but this time in baseball, with the wonderful Red Sox beating the Yankees, having been down 3-0. But now Boston's involved again, this time on the wrong side. Now, whenever they say something about their Red Sox coming back from a 3-0 deficit, they'll always be reminded about the greatest and the biggest collapse in the history of the National Hockey League. And in listening to Versus last night, they said that though it's happened 2 other times in hockey, back in 1942 when the Toronto Maple Leafs did it, and in 1975 when the Islanders did it, something different happened in Game 7. In the Game 7s with the Islanders and with the 42 Maple Leafs, they had leads in Game 7 and went on to win. Unlike the Boston Bruins had a 3-0 lead in the second period of game number 7. And so not only did they choke away the series, losing 4 in a row, they also choked away a 3-0 lead in Game 7. A 3-0 lead in the National Hockey League's playoffs is like leading 32-0 in the regular season. It's nearly insurmountable for a hockey team to come back on a 3-0 deficit. But the Philadelphia Flyers, The team that got into the playoffs on the last game of the season, with the last possible shot being saved off the stick of a New York Rangers player. It's unbelievable that this team that was barely able to get into the playoffs is now just 8 wins away from the Stanley Cup. And for the fans in Boston, there's always going to be that reminder, that terrible, terrible reminder that, wow, we had a 3-0 lead, just like the New York Yankees did. And somehow, unfathomably, we didn't win the series. Boston fans, you had your 2004, but you're going to have to live with 2010, and that will stick with you for eternity.